Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Football Brisbane edition of the Vilic Law SEQFC preview show. I'm Darren Lutton, and I've got two guests with me so far this evening. We might have another couple joining in a little bit later on in the show. But we have got head coach of Bayside United. It's Trevor Rodman. Trevor, how are you, sir?
Pretty good, Darren. How are you?
Yeah, good. And we gave him a debut last week and he's back again. It's Josh Hampstead from Newmarket. How are you, Josh?
Good, thanks, Darren. How you going?
Yeah, pretty good, thanks. Mate, once you start doing this thing, it's infectious. You just enjoy it and you just want to do it week after week, right?
Oh, nothing like talking about footy, mate.
Exactly. All right. So we had FFA Cup games on the weekend, so not too much happening for the Football Brisbane clubs. With I don't think there's anyone left in the competition now. If there were any, I think they got knocked out on the weekend. So let's focus on the Football Brisbane and the Village Law Capital League comps. Trevor, I'm going to start with you. You've got Bayside United sitting pretty there in third place with a catch-up game to go. You must be pleased with your start.
Yeah, look, we've had a pretty solid start. Got a fairly new squad this year. We've got about, I think, 8 or 9 new players in the BPL squad, and so we got a bit of a touch up at Albany Creek early on, but that's okay. You know, you don't win or lose titles in the first week or two, but that sort of gave us a good marker of where we were and where we need to be. And yeah, we're just trying to find, I guess, from my perspective, I don't think we've had the same starting 11 in the first 5 rounds that we've played. So I'm still sort of looking, fine tuning what's our best 11. And that's certainly keeping the squad on their toes. So it's been a really positive start.
You said there that you've turned over 8 players. Is that because they moved on to other clubs? What was
We had a few guys who, I guess made the decision that some of them were travelling a bit of distance. We had a few boys that came up from the coast and they relocated back down there. So, and then a few of our other guys, I just got to a point where, they want to drop down and just play a bit more socially, train one night a week, at times go away on the weekend when they could. So that was good. All a good bunch of lads that moved on. We were happy to, for them to stay or move on. But once they decided they were going to do that, that was an opportunity for us, I guess, to refresh the squad. So, which we have.
You've been in the game for a while now, Trevor. Has there been a player that has had that attitude? They just, they're just playing for the love of it. But you just think, if you applied yourself, you could be anything you want to be. Have you coached players like that before?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, Shane Coffey springs to mind. I mean, with me out at North Pine, I mean, what he could do. And he went to a fair level, but I think he could have played at a lot higher level in the NSL or the early A League. So, yeah, you got to admire for what he did. But he just want to enjoy his mates and play football with his mates and stay local. So that was fine.
Yeah, there's no shame in that, of course, is there?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Josh, let's get to you. Josh, I think you mentioned last week that it was a bonding weekend for the lads. How did it all go? No injuries?
We had we played Enley on the weekend, so we second versus third on the table, and we come away with a win, which was really good.
So you played a competitive match?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, we did.
Research. I'm in research.
It's all good, mate. It's all good.
Tell us about the game.
It was a good one. It was an interesting one. I know Geordie, Enley's coach, from my C license this year. I met him doing that, and I think he was missing a few, but we ended up missing probably from our original 4 or 5 weeks, six lads that had been starting for us originally, which gave some chances to other lads, and it showed our depth, because for me, picking the squad was still tough, because there was probably 3 or 4 lads that didn't get on the pitch or could have still been selected with me that didn't play, and we were still able to walk away with the win, which was really good to show where Newmarket's at so far this year.
And there's actually a link with you and Trevor. You've got one of his sons in your squad, is that right?
Yeah, we got Maxie out there. He's a really good young kid. Yeah, he's really nice.
So have you seen Trevor at a game?
Yeah, I've seen Trev. I think I've seen him once this year, and I saw him a few times down there last year when I was assistant as well. And
Trevor, how do you go with that, mate? Do you want to sort of get a little word in the coach's ear about how it's all going?
Just enjoying watching him play. Get down there whenever we don't clash. So it's always good to have a few quiet beers at the bar at Newmarket and watch them go round. So yeah, no, be enjoyable. Obviously, I coached there for 2 years back in about 2015 or something. So yeah, fond memories of my time at Newey.
All right. Now I actually went and caught a BPL game last weekend. I went to Centenary Storm, was up against Brisbane Knights. Interesting game. You thought it was going to end up a draw, but Knights came away with the win. Bit of talent on the wings for both teams that got used, and that's certainly where the goals came from. So, yeah, interesting night out there at Tornado Alley. That's what it's called. All right, let's get to this weekend's fixtures. We've got Mount Gravatt hosting Centenary Stormers. Brisbane Knights are playing St George Willawong. We've got the derby game. Now, I went to that game last year, and there wasn't quite the fireworks that we were expecting, but maybe this year. Let's see. Bayside up against Toowong, Acacia Ridge UQFC, Albany Creek against Western Spirit, and the Lakes up against the Gap. Trevor, Toowong. They had a 4-1 loss against South West Queensland Thunder on the weekend. What are you expecting?
Look, I think Toowong are a bit like us. They've had a bit of change. Obviously, new coach coming in with Claude, heading over to Southside Eagles, and a few players went with him over there. So I think they're a team that the more they play, the better they're going to get. Got a strong reserve grade side again. So, as the season goes on and injuries come in, suspensions, you need that depth, and that's what tests a lot of the clubs. So, no, look, we're expecting a really tough game from Toowong. They're the sort of team that run through brick walls for each other. Us personally, as a club, have always found it difficult playing them. They're very direct. So that's a challenge for us. So that'll be a good matchup. And I think, they're going to be a team to be, again, in that top half of the table for sure.
So apart from Brisbane Knights and St George Willawong, are there any other matches that stick out for you there as a point of interest?
Oh, look, I think, they're all interesting games. There's a few clubs there who've, are getting desperate to get some points on the board and get some confidence. So that's always going to be a challenge. I think, Acacia Ridge will be looking to get back on track at home against UQ. You're right, Knights and St George will be a good game. John Marinov, who's coaching Knights. They are well organised. They set up really well defensively, so they're very hard to break down. Obviously, St George have got a bit of pressure on them after the high season last year. They were winning games 4-3 or 3-2 or 1-0, and this year, they've had a draw, they've had a couple of losses. When you look at how they played last week against Power in the FFA Cup, great advert, great representation for the BPL in that competition by them. And, early on they had a couple of players suspended as well. Jabal is one of their key players. Popovich, I know they're missing Finn Beakhurst, who was one of their real attacking stars last year, but I think, they're going to get back on track. And once they get everyone back fit available, I think, they're going to be right up there. So that'll be a good game. That won't be easy for and playing at nights is tough. It's a tough trip to go there and bring anything away. We found that out last week where we got away with a 1-0 win. So yeah.
Nice sneeze there, Josh.
Sorry, guys.
COVID test.
That's fine. Trevor, what is it about playing at night sports complex? Why is it so tough there?
Oh, look, the field is difficult. When we went out, it was quite wet. We actually got postponed the week before. Then we got some rain during the week as well, so it was quite slippery. It's usually they try and play their games on the Sunday, get the big crowds there. It's quite usually a hostile environment. They're very passionate followers of football, so all those things just add up, and they're just the sort of team that just relish playing at home. So they're always tougher at home.
And what's happening at your old club, the Gap? Though I don't think they're on any points. I'll just confirm that. Yep. So no points so far this season. Have you caught any of their fixtures?
Look, I've watched a couple on the replay shows, on the videos. They haven't. They sort of struggled through last year. They haven't added a lot of new players. I guess from a Gap perspective, they'll never say die. Liam Garrity, their captain, is a champion player and really nice bloke, and I'm sure he'll rally the troops. We had a similar season when I was at the Gap, I think 3 years ago, where we lost our first 5, and we made the finals and got knocked out in the prelim at Grange. So anything's possible. I think Mark's going to have to probably think about bringing some players in. If not, it could be a really long season for the guys there.
And it's top 4 in the BPL, right?
Top 4 in the finals, yep.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So just looking at the ladder, there's Albany Creek, the Lakes, Bayside, and Brisbane Knights rounding out that top 4, with Toowong and St George just outside. All right, Josh, let's turn now to Village Law Capital League 1, where the mighty North Pine are sit on top of the table, but you're just behind them in second place with a game in hand. As we discussed last week, you're off to a great start this season.
Yeah, it's been, like I said, it's been awesome. And it's really, it's all the credit to the lads. This week we get our catch-up buy round on North Pine. So it'll be good to see. But I think, like I said, last weekend's really been the pinnacle of how well Newmarket's sort of set up this year and gone by the result with Annerley, with the amount of changes we've had just from last game to this game.
And you've got a good chance to go top when you're taking on Ipswich City Bulls.
Yeah, I watched them against Carina, because Carina's about 100 metres from our little townhouse. So I went down and watched them, but it's a Sunday at Ipswich City. So I have no idea I haven't been to their ground before. They just beat Ripley the week before that. So, I mean, every week's a challenge, I think, if we turn up in our best form. We hopefully take.
Just stay away from the bull in the bar. That's all I've got to say. Stay away from the bull in the bar.
I'm sure there'll be a few passionate lads out there from what I've heard. But yeah, that's awesome. It's good to see.
All right, let's have a look at the other fixtures. So Annerley are hosting Slacks Creek. New Farm are taking on Logan Metro. Will host AC Carina, who had their first win last week. Ripley Valley are playing Pine Hills, and North Pine have the bye. Moggle Carina, I think that's an interesting game, and Ripley up against Pine Hills. We had Leo on the show last week, and he's talking about finally getting the side up and going again. Ripley are a team that have yet to find their mojo this season as well. Would you agree?
Yeah, I don't know what their setup is this year player-wise. I don't know what their availability is. I know last year they had some good lads, and I don't think they could play week in, week out type of setup. but some really experienced players. But like you saw, they got the loss against Ipswich City, but then they come out and had a draw with North Pine on the weekend at North Pine. So that'll be a cracker, Pine Hills versus Ripley for sure.
I was going to say, I think Nick has the team pretty well organised. He's got a couple of experienced players in that Ripley side, so they've had a bit of history with Pine Hills too. So I think that'll be a good game. So we played Brocky's North Pine in pre-season. Actually gave the side we took over there a good touch-up. So he's put together a really good young side, really impressive. Obviously, there's a few of the ex-Bayside boys at Anley, so Rui and Rusty and Jared Freer, a few others. So, there's got a lot of quality in that Cap 1 this year. It's going to be tight comp. You're doing really well, Josh.
Yeah, it'd be good. I think that Anley Slacks will be a good game to watch as well. Knowing Geordie and Anley and playing against Slacks, I know they're probably a bit of a different squad at home, but it'll still be a tough game for both teams there.
The other interesting team, and I guess your comp, we had our FFA Cup, or we had an FFA Cup game with St George. So we had a free weekend last weekend. So we arranged a friendly with Moggle. And, I was really impressed, even though we won fairly easy in the end. I mean, Moggle had a few guys away, pretty bare numbers like we did, but they played some really good football. So I think once they've only played 3 games, I see. So I think they're going to be thereabouts. Had a good result in the cup early against Caboolture as well. So have you played them yet?
We haven't, no. So I went and watched them in the first round against Anley, and they had a win. We have our back end will be a tough back end of the season. I think we go City, then we play Moggle, then we go to Ripley, then we do North Pine and Pine Hills. So we have a pretty tough end to the season. But from what I saw from Moggle last year to this year, they've added pretty well. They've added some sharp lads in there who like to play some good footy. And I know going out there, I don't know, if you were out there, you know what they're like out at Moggle. There's an atmosphere about them, so that they'll go as far as I guess they allow themselves to.
All right, let's move now to Village Law Capital League 2, and we'll start with the ladder. North Brisbane, undefeated, 3 wins out of 3. Clairvaux second, Kangaroo Point in third, and Redcliffe PCYC in 4th place. Willowburn, the team from Toowoomba, are actually winless after 3 games, which comes as a bit of a surprise because they normally put a decent team together. Let's have a look at the games this weekend. We've got Narangba up against Redcliffe PCYC. That should be a great game. It's Friday night at Narangba. North Brisbane up against Clairvaux. Barden Latrobe against KPR. Oxley United up against Springfield United, and the Willows are hosting Westside Grovely. Trevor, do you take an interest in this?
Yeah, I was going to say North Brisbane, couple of ex-Gap, even ex-North Pine players. So Mark Wheeler, Jason Kewen, and I believe that they've just recently signed Mark Dobson, who was the skipper at the Gap last year. So a lot of experience in that North Brisbane team. So obviously they're going to be hard to beat. And Clairvaux, Lewis O'Rourke, who was at Bayside and with me at the Gap. Lewis is down there, and I know that they encouraged probably 2 or 3 of our Bayside reserves to join them this year down there. So again, they've got a fairly competitive squad as well. And Kangaroo Point, as you know, we've played them quite regularly in pre-season. The old Sunday down at the Piney Bobble, that's a difficult trip for anybody. That's harder than going, away on a cold night to bloody Wimbledon or wherever it is. So, but yeah, tough league again.
Yeah, with Narangba in 6th place, they've actually only played 2 games, and I've heard that they've signed a couple of players just recently who are quite handy. So Expect a move from the Eagles as the season progresses. All right, let's go to Capital League 3. Unless, Josh, you've got something you want to say about Cap 2?
Oh, mate, no, that's fine.
Oh, good. All right, let's move now to Cap 3. Ridge Hills on top of the league. Tarragindi second, Brighton Bulldogs in third, Park Ridge in fourth. This is fantastic. It's great to see these clubs in that position on the ladder, because normally, you expect to see them a little further down. So congratulations to those guys. Great start to the season. Of course, we are only 3 rounds in. Logan Village in 5th. Now, they were a club that we had a lot of high hopes for with a lot of new signings there. Jimmy in 6th, Nathania 7th, Pine Rivers in 8th, and Deception Bay still winless. But they've only played 2 games. Let's have a look at their fixtures. Pine Rivers are hosting Brighton. D-Bay playing Ridge Hills, something of a local derby there. Bethania up against Jimmy. Tarragindi against Logan Village, and Park Ridge up against Teviot Downs. Trev, you got anything to say about those fixtures? Surely you've coached players from half of those teams, right?
Yeah, no, it's good to see. They picked up a few younger guys and guys who couldn't sort of train 2 nights a week, like I think Darren Bender's young fellas over there as well. So it's good to see that this is their first year back, I think, for a while. So good to see that club back on track. I think and likewise similar with Pine Rivers, a club with a lot of history, and Corey Lovewell, who was an old North Pine and Pine Rivers juniors coaching down there as well. So really good to see those clubs who have a lot of history back on the scene in men's football in Brisbane. So,
yes, Josh, do you take an interest in Cap 3?
I only really look. I like to keep an eye on Pine Rivers because they were my old junior club.
Is that right?
Yeah, back. It used to be great. You'd sort of play on your Saturday and you'd nick off to your mate's house and go back and watch the 4X League games. But besides that, Ridge Hills, like Glennie Richards, who's out there coaching, and I think he's got Ian Kilroy, who's his assistant. They're guys I know from playing with, and they're just great blokes. And we played them in a pre-season match, and 2 very smart coaches. So I think they'll go a long way, and I hope they do for their sakes.
Do you have a story about the pig pen?
Oh, mate, I remember I must have been 13 or 14, and my high school teacher was the keeper for Pine Rivers at the time. So a couple of few cheeky lads that used to get down there and give him a bit of slack behind the goal. But mate, there's a gazillion stories come out of Pine Rivers back in those days in the pig pen.
Trev, can you back this up? My understanding was that the pig pen is the bar area for Pine Rivers. Did it used to have chicken wire across it to protect the fans and the players alike?
Sorry, you just dropped out then, Darren. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, did there used to be chicken wire protecting the players from the fans at the pig pen?
No, they used to let them hang over the fence and get tangled up in the days. So.
Yeah, good stuff. And you'd have played some great derbies against them with your time at North Pine, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. In the late years, I mean, obviously, North Pine took a while to get up. I think it was about 2006 before we got to the Premier League, when Rivers had a big history before then. But certainly had some good times against the Rivers boys.
Excellent.
It's interesting now that a lot of them moved across to obviously to North Pine. So always good. All
right. Now, guys, before we go, I might just throw this one out there. We saw a memo from Football Brisbane about a meeting next week about the changes to Football Brisbane and the work that FQ are doing with trying to consolidate the competitions. Do you have an opinion on these structural changes that are occurring?
Oh, look, I think everybody, regardless where you sit, would like to see our governing bodies work together to actually promote football, not only in Brisbane, but in Queensland. So I don't know how they do that, whether they get round a table and do that. But, I mean, we all just want to play football. We all want to play the game we love. We want to give our players the opportunity to be the best players they can be. And I think if we could all do that on the best page and also look after the players and being the best player might be playing in under 15 Div 5, or it might be playing at NPL. But I think, every player is important and deserves to be listened to and have an opportunity to play football. So I just hope that they all get on the same page.
What are your thoughts, Josh?
I don't have, I don't have too many thoughts. I'd like to see if there was a way that if it does go under one governing body, that the comps can not be as, I guess, stretched between first and last place in regards to quality. I mean, I think we can see it this year in the BPL. You got 3-4 teams, and then 4 teams are really struggling. Cap 1, you've got a wealth of great teams, and then then you haven't even looked at the Football Queensland, which still a lot of those teams are made up from Brisbane-based squads. So whether it's some leagues not having reserves or whatever it may be, but just a way to strengthen all comps up. So, when people are going to trial at the higher competitions, they are playing in a higher level of football, essentially. I think that's just the one thing that I've sort of noticed gets lost a little bit, is maybe they go to trial at a higher level, but it may not be the strongest level at the same time.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, as long as the memo that we saw from Football Brisbane today just highlighted just how much work they have to do, the number of players that they organise competitions for, and the work that's involved. And I think that the Football Brisbane are a little bit suspect as to how Football Queensland are going to be able to take on that workload. And this is all occurring without probably the consultation that they were hoping for. But if this can all get sorted, and if this results in lower fees across all the leagues, it's got to be a good thing, right? The difference in the quality in the leagues, whenever there's a restructure, you'll always find that the haves and the have-nots, there's great discrepancies in the ladder, and it always takes a season or two for things to balance out and teams to find their place within the football pyramid again. So
and the real winner, Darren, you'd be the real winner anyway, because we'd only need one preview show then.
Definitely, yes. But yeah, I think we just need to be a little bit patient with it all. I'm sure there's a lot of technical issues that need to be sorted out, but once it gets done, we can have the structure and stick to the structure and give it a few years for all the teams to find their place. Then hopefully it'll all work out for us. All right, and on that cheerful note, let's end the show. Trevor Rodman, thank you very much for your time this evening.
Cheers, Dan.
Josh Hampstead, we'll see you next week. You're in for life now.
Thanks, Darren. Thanks, Trev. Good luck for the weekend, mate.
Yeah, you too, mate.
All right, this has been the Village Law SEQFC preview show. We will see you next week.